Here is a skill that we talk about often and we teach to parents in real time for when your children are being defiant or throwing a tantrum. My name is Paige Bruce. I'm one half of Mindful as a Mother, and I'm also a children's counselor and mindful motherhood expert. So you'll hear Lindsay and I talk about validate. Always be validating. Validate your child's feelings. But how do we even do that? When we're telling you to validate your child's emotions and experience, that means when they're having this tantrum, when they're giving you pushback, when they're complaining and whining, you are listening for the emotion behind the word. I want you to pick out the emotion from the experience. So an example, last night, I laid my 4-year-old down in bed. She gave me a lot of pushback on completing our evening routine and getting ready for bed. And so then she's laying down in bed. I say goodnight and she starts crying. So I'm asking her, I said, what's happening? What happened? And she starts crying and she said, you fought with me about bedtime. And she's crying. This is a big deal for her. So instead of using that moment to teach, this is why we were fighting, and instead of just saying, it's going to be okay, tomorrow's a new day, this is what I did, and this is validating. In her words, she said, she was crying, and she said, you fought with me about bedtime. And so what I hear, this is what I say, and I say this because it helps coach me to remind me what I'm listening for. It said, I hear that you feel really sad. We disagreed about bedtime. And that is all you have to do. An example from a session I had earlier this week was the child was saying, I just won't get to do this anymore. I won't get to do that. And so I said, it sounds like you're scared. You won't get to have that experience anymore. I'm not fixing it. I'm not offering solutions. I'm not trying to just make them feel better. I'm only just picking out the emotion. That's where you got to start. You just pick out the emotion. We're having a hard time leaving the park, throwing a huge tantrum. We've done all the transitions. Now we're just surfboard, out of here. It's really disappointing that we have to leave the park. It doesn't mean that your child's always going to be happy about what's happening or that they're immediately going to stop. But what you're doing is creating space to validate that emotion, to help them work through the feeling and the tantrum sooner and become more aware of what's happening for them so they can develop the skills to express that on their own. For more tips like this, please check out our Responsive Parenting Your Neurodivergent Child series.